Governments are no longer denying it. The military are no longer denying it. And even mainstream media no longer denies it. They're here and have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing the truth with you. Welcome to MUFON's What's Up with hosts Katie Griboski, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up? It is the last Thursday night, not in an apocalyptic kind of way. This is MUFON What's Up radio show, and we are moving to prime time. So this will be our last Thursday. We are moving to Tuesdays, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you follow us over to Tuesday nights. I'm really looking forward to being prime time. I don't know what's up with like Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's kind of like the Idaho and Iowa. You know, it's not like Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, but Tuesdays are great. So I'm looking forward to being with you guys on Tuesday night. You are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON. I'm your host, Katie Griboski, Colorado State Director. I'm so glad you guys are here with us tonight. We have got a great show for you lined up. We have Teri Lynge coming in. We're so excited to talk with her. And as always, this show is brought to you by kgradb.com. Please go to their site and check them out. And it is always sponsored by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. Always asking that important question, are we alone in the universe? Just a little MUFON announcement as well. MUFON has its registration open for the Denver Symposium in July. So get in there and get your tickets and register now. You can also sign up for the live stream TV if you can't make it in person. So that is up and running, and we all hope to see you out at the symposium. So now I'd like to bring in my awesome co-host, Katie Cook. She has been investigating the paranormal and UFOs for quite some time. Welcome, Katie.
Hello. I'm excited about tonight's show. Really excited to talk to Teri. And how about us moving to prime time, baby?
I know. Big time. No.
Moving on up.
Right. And let's bring in Chris DePerno out of New York, State Director for MUFON. Welcome, Chris.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm writing a Valentine's letter right now. So, excuse me. We got a great show for you tonight. It's going to knock your socks off. Teri Lynge is going to be on. She's fabulous. I'm going to have to sleep with the lights on tonight because she'll scare the bejesus out of me
right.
and stuff.
That's right. So, Katie, what do you have to kick us off this evening?
Oh, no, first of all, Chris, is that letter to your wife? Just making sure. Just
scandal.
It's my Valentine.
Right.
None of your business if it's to my wife.
Okay.
How's that?
Didn't mean to step on any toes, but okay. All right, let's start with our meme of the week with a Valentine's theme, since that's coming up. How cute is this one? For you guys just listening, there's an alien who appears to have shot some arrows at, I guess that's the Tin Man. It says, "Oh, forget it. There's just no getting through to this guy." That's what Cupid is saying to the alien. Oh, poor little Tin
We've all
Man.
been there. Yeah, some guys you just can't get through to. He needs his heart, the Tin Man. That's a cute one.
Well, okay. I want to tell you about a crazy pop I have this week. Paranormal pop. Look at this one. How cute is that? It's a skunk ape pop. Skunk ape. I can't say it, but I mean it. Doesn't that look so yummy? So it's milk chocolate with coconut and almonds. Look, it's got almonds for toes. I love that one. I think that's so cute. And of course, as always, you can order these pops at paranormalpops.com. Chris, does that look good to you? Are you licking your lips?
I actually have wrote a letter about the skunk. He said, "My dear Valentine, after 27 years of marriage, I wanted you to be recognized for all the great things you do, and saw this, and I wanted you to see how much I care for you on Valentine's Day. Therefore, I want to give you a skunk ape foot. Happy Valentine's Day."
Oh, Chris, there's no saving
what
you.
Do you think?
I don't
want to eat a foot.
Of course, I will wear my football helmet when I give it this to her.
I think that would be wise.
I don't know. I think it's so much different than flowers. Flowers get old.
Oh, it's different than flowers. Well, It smells divine.
Folks,
So-
if you really want to get attention for Valentine's Day, give her a skunk cake pop.
Oh
That's
my
true.
goodness. Hey, but speaking of paranormal pops, I wanted to do something different this week and just introduce you guys to Wendy Robinson. She's the one who makes
good.
these pops. And, you know, we've been talking about them every week. And I thought it'd be good to hear from Wendy about the inspiration behind making these pops, because it involves our dear friend, Angelia Shear. We're actually coming up on the week. It's been a whole year, believe it or not, this week that we lost Angelia. So she's on our mind and in all of our hearts. And I just thought, let's get Wendy talking about the pops and her inspiration. Amanda?
Paranormal pops are solid chocolate in different flavors, and they're shaped like Bigfoot feet, aliens, UFOs, kind of like in the high strange cryptid field. My dear friend Angelia Shear was a wonderful friend to me, and she unfortunately got a brain tumor and passed very quickly, and I was making these pops to take to her service in her honor. And I put just a few in a basket, and literally I heard her voice as plain as day say to me, "You need to make more of these. We've had the single mother talk. I've been a single mother. You need to make more of these. They're really great. People are going to love them." And I just started making more, and I listened, and she told me, her voice told me the name. She said, "You're going to call them Paranormal Pops. They're out of this world." So when I went to the celebration of life with this basket of these pops, I ran in the parking lot into Teri Lynge-Kehl, and they were so kind. I just met them, and they helped me carry the items into the fellowship hall, and they saw the pops. And they said, "These are incredible." After the service, we all sat at the table, and they said, you know, "We'll help you do this." I told them the story, and they said, "We're going to help you." And Kevin Kell Media, that's his media company, he helped me put the website together, come up with this really great nostalgic logo. In each order, I have these little wings that come in white chocolate or white chocolate mint, and I call them Angelia wings instead of angel wings. And then any event that we do, that put a tribute to her out, and we take donations so that I can do things in her name to St. Jude's or other breast cancer, you know, awareness fundraisers and things like that, veterans fundraisers, and all in her name. I did not have an interest in the paranormal stuff at all, really. I can't say I didn't believe in UFOs or did believe in I just didn't really, you know, I just went on with my life. I had an image on my security camera that was just really bizarre, and it just prompted me and led me to her. And through that little image, we just bonded and became wonderful friends. You know, it's just amazing how a photograph on a camera can bring somebody into your life that just has impacted me so incredibly that I really can't even explain it. I want to always be one person that's just constantly reminding people of her and who she was. Angelia Shear wrote a wonderful book. It's called UFO Encounters. You can get it on Amazon. It's fascinating. I mean, her viewpoints were so important to this whole paranormal field. I mean, people really admired her, and I miss her. But I know she's still with me, so.
Yay. So now you
Awesome.
know
Yeah.
more about the
We all
pops
miss
where it
Angel.
came from.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, we miss her so much, and it is really hard to believe that it's been a year. You know, it all happened so fast, but she was just such a wonderful person and wonderful friend to all of us. I think we actually have some pictures of her we can show you. Oh, that's us getting our sassy on.
I love it.
That's the
I
UFO
love
girls
it.
right there, and that was when she got Investigator of the Year a few years ago out
She's
in
awesome.
California at
Mhm.
the Symposium. And there you are, Chris.
Yeah, I'm telling you, she was the best. And Dale, I love them both.
Yeah, that was so fun. Oh, and there's our guest and you, Katie.
Yeah, I have a
Very
great story to share a little later about this last symposium of something that happened. And I shared it with Teri. We stood there in the hall. And so when she comes in, I'll tell you all about that because I want Teri to be in on that conversation. But it was pretty powerful. So
I will
She's
tell you a short story about Angelia. I mean, I was very good friends. We probably talked at least once or twice a week. And one time I was doing a Project Aries radio show, and I said, Angie, I got this guy coming on, and we're going to be talking about Satan, and we're going to be talking about the Satan Church and everything. And she goes, don't you do it. I go, what? Don't you do it. You're not ready for it. And I go, Angie, what are you talking about? I'm telling you, I care about you too much. Cancel that show. And something struck over me, and I said, okay, I'll get right on the phone and I will cancel the show. And I canceled the show based on her words alone, stuff like that. But I mean, she always looked out for me. She was a great mentor. I love her to death, and I miss her every day.
Yeah.
Beautiful person. We will always miss her.
Yes.
We'll be talking about her a lot through this whole episode, definitely. But Chris, I'm dying to know what news you have for us.
Oh, have I got some stories for you? These guys are just crazy. All right. Amanda, let's get ready with the news. Why is the Air Force AWOL on the UFO issue? Last June, the Director of National Intelligence released a public report on UFOs. The report confirmed that the vehicles of unknown origin are operating on a regular basis with ease in restricted U.S. military airbase. Only been going on for 70 years. But with this information, the U.S. Air Force has been silent. How is this possible considering the U.S. Air Force's responsibility for aerospace defense and its massive air and space surveillance capabilities? Are we to believe that the U.S. Air Force do not detect any UFOs? This lapse in the U.S. Air Force reporting raises doubts about the credibility of the U.S. Air Force on the UFO issue. Yeah, it's only been 70 years, but what do we know? It appears to be a little more than the Air Force resisting civilian oversight. So, now we're talking about the United States Air Force. So what are the massive surveillance capabilities of the U.S. Air Force? Here's some of the Air Force's unclassified surveillance programs. These are unclassified. Think what they got classified. The Space Fence, the world's most advanced radar. All right, the Space Fence can track over 25,000 objects in orbit, some reportedly as small as a marble, but it can't pick up a UFO? Okay. The solid state phase array radar system. I don't know what that is, but it's supposed to be some massive phase array radars designed primarily to detect ICBM or sea-launched cruise missiles, which means is that any UFO that comes out of the water, they're supposed to be able to detect. The Global Infrasound Acoustic Monitoring Network. There are 60 stations that monitor low-frequency pressure waves in the atmosphere. This acoustic network reportedly can detect and track bodies and other objects in the atmosphere. The U.S. Space Surveillance Network. This global program consists of at least 29 worldwide space surveillance systems, featuring the world's most powerful radars, which can reportedly detect a basketball-sized object 22,000 miles away. All right, but they can't pick up a UFO. Space-based situational awareness program. Once again, I don't know what it is, but it seems pretty important to me. The space-based infrared system, a network of satellites operating in medium Earth orbits that together provide global coverage and infrared energy sources. Overhead Persistence Infrared Battle Space Awareness Center. This is at Buckley Air Force Base, and it's a new lab, so God knows what they're doing there. And then Active Electronically Scanned Array. They can track even low radar cross-sections of objects over large areas. And the Federal Aviation Administration. I didn't know this, but the FAA's long-range radar systems feed right into NORAD. The U.S. Air Force, through the Joint Surveillance System, NORAD is privy to all data from the FAA sites. This is just some of the capabilities of the United States Air Force. Unclassified. Now, think about the classified systems, but they haven't seen any UFOs. You decide, Cookie.
Ay. First of all, Amanda, can we put Chris's face back up full again, and then do the logo over his face again, that U.S. Air Force logo. No, let's do this one. Okay, because Chris, you look like a superhero. I just love that so much.
Your wings.
I like that. I think I'm going to have a shirt. But I'm a Marine. I'm a jarhead. I don't go with the Air Force. They're a bunch of. I like to say something, but I can't say it on the air.
I just had to do that. That was too cute. Yeah, what the heck? I mean, like you said, just the classified stuff, the stuff the non-classified stuff, the stuff that we know about. If it can detect such minute things. You can
detect a thing in space the size of a marble, but they can't figure out what these other things are flying. They won't say anything.
There's no way. And it's so weird how the Navy, will basically come out and be like, we're seeing stuff and we don't know what it is, but our Air Force won't. It doesn't make any sense to me. Could it just be because then they have to admit we're no match, like for them, like, they, you know what I mean? Would they just have to admit, like, we can't do anything about them being in our space? So better to just say, no, we don't see anything.
Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. Kind of deal. Katie, you had something to say?
I did. The Air Force has been in the shadows on this and have been involved with some of this and looking into it for decades and decades and decades. I mean, Francis Warren in the 60s in Cheyenne, all the stuff out in Colorado Springs and Elbert County Ranch, I think Black Access Projects. I mean, Air Force is liar, liar, pants on fire. And you know what? I'm 10 miles, less than 10 miles from Buckley, which is now the Space Force. And I don't know what's going on there, but there's some weird behavior sometimes. Sometimes in the middle of the night, you'll hear these things and you're just like, uh-oh, what's going on now? So they know, they're just not telling us. I don't know if it's liability or what. But
I think it's for 70 years they've been lying their butts off to us.
That's
Now
right.
they're going to try to figure out a story to say, well, maybe not. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get on to our next story. Stunned truck driver records baffling orb over New Jersey. A truck driver in New Jersey, while driving, spotted a puzzling orb in the morning sky that left him so baffled that he stopped along the side of the highway to film the curious scene. The sighting occurred last week as the driver was traveling through New Jersey. The normal route that took a strange turn when the driver noticed a strange pulsating bright light. The driver was so intrigued by the object that he pulled over as soon as he could and recorded it. The driver marveled at the object, noting that there are no marker lights on it, which he takes to mean that it's not an airplane. I kind of agree with that. Watching the weird light in the sky above him, the truck driver also said that the object was not a star, although he said he's not an astronomer and he doesn't have any answers for that. Skeptical observers say the object was probably Venus, which is frequently mistaken for a visitor. Yeah, a visitor from our out of this world. Amanda, let's play that video.
Marty, this is what I'm recording. I pulled over on the side of the highway. You can see me on the side of the highway right now. It's just about dawn. This is not an airplane. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm zooming in on it right now. This is not an airplane. There's no marker lights on it. It's basically hovering. It's not a star. It's not Venus. Sorry. I don't know what the hell this thing is. There's another one to the left somewhere. I saw it. There's no marker lights on it. There's no red, indicator lights on it, or there's no tail. There's no anything. It's just like an orb or like a ball, and it's literally. I'm trying to hold it as still as possible. It is literally almost standing still up there. Let me bring you back out. Hold on, I'm sorry. All right, this is what I'm trying to give you guys. Okay? Now, let me see if I can pan to the other one. I know I saw one up here somewhere. Hold on. Where is it? Where are you? I saw one other one. Hold on. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Whatever that thing is, that is not the space station. I'm telling you right now. The other one's gone. I don't know. It was visible. It's not visible right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and come back in on this. This thing is just staying still and pulsating. I don't know. I'm not an astronomer. I know that it's not an airplane, though. I'll tell you that much.
Well, at least he's honest. He said that he's not an astronomer and he has no idea what it is, but it was an amazing little thing. What do you think, Cookie?
Well, yeah, so I couldn't really see the pulsating, but I take his word for it. It's so still, so it's not a satellite, and I mean, it looks too small to be the moon and too big to be a planet and too high to be a street lamp. I don't know.
Katie?
I'm just super excited because your case could be the same thing what my case of the week is. So I'm blown away right now.
Oh, maybe we're having an invasion. Who knows?
Oh.
Did this trucker see Venus or something not of this world? You people decide. All right, let's get on to our final story for tonight. Mysterious aircraft spotted at Area 51 in unprecedented satellite picture. Roughly 8 years ago, since its construction began, the massive hangar located at the remote southern end of Groom Lake has seemed to have a little more activity right now. For the first time, satellite photos from Planet Labs not only show activity around the hangar, but the nature of that activity is a never-before-seen exotic Delta Wing aircraft parked in the northern apron, like we haven't seen it flying in the skies. The images of the base show a roughly Delta-shaped object on the northern apron, and the shot that contained this object was dated January 26th of 2022. So it's pretty recent. Since we have never seen any action around this hangar, we found this odd. Folks, I don't find this odd because they don't make mistakes at Area 51. The aircraft in question measures roughly 65 feet long, 50 feet wide. The aircraft has no tail surfaces. The size and shape are broadly like, well, maybe the next generation air fighter and the sixth generation concepts that we have seen from both the U.S. Air Force and the Navy, which are shown as heavily tailless, low observable tactical jets, which modified the Delta Wing platforms. Wow, what a mouthful. It has always been officially disclosed that a next generation demonstrator has been in flight testing for some time and has great promise. These manned and unmanned platforms will be developed together with several other technologies that will enable them to fight together. This is just one secret program that we know exists. Development in high-speed flight has exploded in recent years, especially when it comes to hypersonic aircraft and missiles. The Air Force is currently pursuing a hypersonic flight test program known as Mayhem. It's got to be Mayhem. Details about this project are limited, but we do know that it is seeking to build demonstrators configured to perform strike and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions. We must understand that spotting a totally new and exotic aircraft design in the open at Area 51 is largely unprecedented, and for very good reason. It is widely known that those who run the facilities are masters at concealing what they need to conceal. The place literally wrote the book on it. Folks, that's absolutely true. They don't make mistakes, and they don't put this out there unless there's a reason for it. Cookie?
Yeah, so they want us to see it. Well, I wonder what sound that craft would make.
Probably nothing.
Well, if it breaks the sonic boom barrier, I'm going to make a lot of sound. I would imagine it's going to break your windows, I think.
Because I look at something like that and I think, wow, could that be like the triangles that so many people see?
Right.
But then people say they're silent, and we don't have that technology yet, right? At least we don't think.
I personally think we do.
You do.
Talking to Michael Stratt and other experts in it, I personally think we have that technology that we can do. Remember one thing, Kelly Johnson, Ben Rich both said that we have the ability to take ET home now. We can do this. James Goodall said that we have reached Mach 16. That's not anything that James Goodall will come out of his mouth if he didn't know for a fact. He said that he has worked on projects that have gone Mach 8, Mach 10, Mach 16. Now, they may be unmanned, but that's an incredible speed that we have done.
Yeah.
But
And I
can we
just
do
talked
it
to a
quietly? I don't know.
Yeah. I just talked to a whistleblower in Canyon City. I was there doing a presentation, and this guy, he runs a newspaper. Anyway, he was very, very high up engineer at General Electric, and he said the same thing. We're 40 years, ahead of what people know we are. So,
Well, I don't doubt that.
Here's what Ben Rich said, and Ben Rich said this out in the public. Whatever you can imagine, we're 50 years ahead of it. If you can imagine Star Wars, we've done all that, and we've gone beyond that. So it's a little scary what we probably have within the U.S. military arsenal right now.
Yeah, this is true. Wow. Okay. Well, Katie, you kind of teased us with your case of the week. Do tell.
I know. I'm pretty excited about this because both Chris's stories could have something to do with this. So I think this is a really good one. So for case of the week this week, I have case number 120635. It's a category 2 case. It occurred January 26, 2022. So just recently. It's actually in progress with one of my Colorado FIs. It occurred at 6:07 p.m. in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Again, ties into the Air Force. So interesting. 2 witnesses. I always like that. Number observed 2. And so it's 2 orb UAPs escorted by helicopter. So I'll read this to you. Then we're going to watch some videos, and I have a couple photos of some still shots that I screenshotted and saved and zoomed in and all that good stuff. But so it starts like this. And when I watched the video too, I thought, oh, this is just a helicopter, but it's not. This is really good. The more I look at it, the better it got. So after a friend and I hiked the switchbacks of Bar Trail up Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs, dusk fell quickly. So we headed back down the mountain trail. At approximately 6:07 p.m., we noticed a grouping of bright lights to our southeast coming towards us. If it weren't for the unusual brightness of the front 2 lights, I wouldn't have grabbed my iPhone and hit record. At an introductory glance, these lights appeared to be one craft, as the trio of lights were evenly spaced out. From our angle, it appeared to have a triangle shape. However, as the shapes got closer, I quickly realized I was wrong. In the distance, I could hear the familiar whirl of a helicopter, and I strained my eyes and ears because I figured the 2 bright lights in front were helicopters as well. Upon closer approach, the orbs didn't seem to make a sound at all. That's what Katie was just saying. The parking lot created a natural amphitheater with the mountains as its backdrop, and the closer the grouping got, the more clearly I could hear what was happening. My jaw dropped when I didn't hear anything coming off the 2 lighted orbs or lit orbs, only the helicopter in the back. These orbs seemed to be leading the helicopter as the formation flew almost directly overhead. Notice in the video at the 12-second mark, a smaller bright flash occurs in front of the first orb, but for just a fraction of a second. I didn't see this until closer inspection of the video later. Similarly, at 15 seconds, another small flash bleeps between the second orb and the helicopter. Some other unusual small lights track under the orbs around the 34-second mark. Look closely. The information contained on its trajectory over the peaks of the mountain and just to the right of some power lines. What really threw me off, as this wasn't strange enough, was the lead orb dissolving into nothing. It just didn't wink out. It almost seems to collapse down to nothing right before we should see it crest the peak, as if dissolving. Seeing this with the naked eye, I gasped and accidentally took my thumb off the picture button, which stopped the recording. I kept my hands on my chest to steady my phone and tried to keep the capture in frame, and in doing so only caught a few glances with my eyes as I shifted back and forth between my screen and the sky. And yes, that is a lens flare in green that comes down at one point. I think it's pretty cool that the witness pointed out there was a little lens flare caught in the video. So Amanda, if you can roll video 1, this is the original one. It's really dark, but then I lightened it up and slowed it way down. So if you want to run that first video. So what's cool in the second video, when you light it up, you can really see that those two orbs are not connected to the helicopter. The helicopter is almost escorting these things. And some of the screenshots I took, I think you can make out a shape of it. So it's pretty cool. So if you want to roll the slowed down, lit up video that I edited. So what's cool about that one is you can really see the helicopter behind it, and it appears you can see the flashes, and it appears to be there's another helicopter escorting whatever this is, which makes me believe maybe this is possibly what Chris was talking about, one of these military copters, because if you want to pull up that first screenshot picture, so there it is, I captured it. It has a triangular kind of shape to it that almost looks very similar to what Chris was showing in that bunker there. And you can see like a seam on it. And then this is the second screenshot I took. It's not as clear as the first, but I like this one because you can see the light of the helicopter shining down kind of way above it. So there's definitely, these two were separate. It wasn't one aircraft. So that's my case of the week. What do you guys think?
Wow.
Compelling.
So, okay, I'm confused. So when you see the two bright white lights, and then you do see that red flashing light behind it. So that, are you saying that that's the helicopter that was making
That's the helicopter. Yeah, it seemed to be, and then you could see that flash of another one in that second video. So it appears to me that helicopters are escorting something that didn't make a sound, something that this witness said dissolved. Eventually, I have no idea. Is this a UFO or a top secret craft? This case is still in progress. So I'm really anxious to see what is dug up, in the conclusion.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I would. The only other thing that came to my mind, and I don't know anything about him, but like some sort of glider plane that maybe wasn't supposed to be flying at night, and that's why the helicopter showed up. Would that have any kind of red light on the back? I don't know anything about gliders.
I don't know.
Just that popped into my head.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's those two big white. I mean, those are pretty big lights as compared to the helicopter. So I don't know if gliders would have that big of a light on there. I don't know, but that's a good thought.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
What
do you think, Chris?
Well, I will tell you the one thing that you said, the plane dissolved. We have the technology now that some of these crafts actually have cameras all over them, and they can project what's on top to the bottom of it. And actually, you think that you're looking at stars as opposed to it's actually the bottom of the plane. They can project what's up in the air, transfer it to cameras or some kind of screen to the bottom of the plane, and you say the damn thing disappeared. Well, it's still there, but because of the technology with cameras and everything that we've now developed, and this is not classified anymore. We actually are able to do this. So that makes me a little suspicious about all these things that are disappearing, especially some of these crafts that are escorted by helicopters. Remember Cash Landrum. Cash Landrum was escorted by 3 or 4 helicopters. And that, I think, was an early model of what we were playing with radioactive stuff. and those people got terrible ionized radiation burns and everything. So
Wow.
who knows?
Yeah. I mean, what are they escorting? Our own or something else? Who knows?
Yeah.
Mystery. So, Chris, did you happen to catch up with Bob this week?
I did. Our international director sent us another case. Amanda, would you roll that?
Hi, everybody. My name is Bob Spearing, and I am MUFON's Director of Investigations on the international side. And I have a video here from you today, case 111735 out of Brazil from 2018. It's an interesting video. It shows a long black cylindrical object moving across the sky. And I'm going to let Chris play the video right now. Hit it, Chris.
Você pode me chamar de doente cruel, você não quer que eu acredite em Papai Noel, né? Deslumbrada com dinheiro, carro, fama, se ela sentir que é um bom partido, ela se acaba na cama. Parece que funciona só na lei do incentivo, dependendo.
Okay, Chris, you can flip it there. Okay, what that is probably a solar balloon. Chris, could you put up a picture of the solar balloon? These you can buy off of Amazon, and the way they work is you lay them out on a very hot, sunny day, and air molecules actually expand, and when it gets to a certain point, it begins to lift the solar balloon up. They come in many shapes and sizes and colors, but the most common one is the long, thin, cylindrical type. So this case can be closed out as an IFO. It is a solar balloon that is easily bought on Amazon and is a lot of fun if you do decide to buy one. That's it for today. Thank you, Chris, for having me, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Take care.
Wow.
Wow, very cool. I've never seen one of those balloons.
I haven't
Have you?
either.
I haven't either. And supposedly you just lay them out on a hot sunny day and the air inside somehow expands and they float away.
Wow. So many things that look like UFOs now.
I know.
Why? Stop it, people. Oh, well.
Right.
What you going to do?
Wow. Nice party gift.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I tell you what, before we bring our guest in, I wanted to share another thing about Angelia, because again, we all have her on our mind this week. You know, before you guys welcomed me into this podcast, thank you. I was trying to do one on my own, and you know, when Ange passed, I got really stuck. Even though I was doing the podcast by myself, she was just my inspiration and my mentor, and you know, really fueled me. So I, of course, tried to do an episode dedicated to her. And man, I just couldn't get through it. I just couldn't. Every time I tried, I've still yet to put that together. But something interesting happened, because I would do a little intro video for each podcast and for each episode. And I feel like I recorded this, I think this was the week she passed, and something interesting happened. I'm not going to say anymore. I want to roll it and see what you guys think. Where she and I really bonded was we care more than anything about the witnesses. We love everyone out there doing that real nuts and bolts research. Angelia had a very scientific background and definitely could come into an investigation, you know, with her science mind on and her skeptic eye wide open. And we have that in common for sure. But ultimately, where we bonded was we both knew and felt that it was really all about the experiencer, how you helped somebody process this experience. Just giving them that support system, because so many experiencers feel so incredibly alone. So that's not to take anything away from nuts and bolts research. We need it, and we're trying to gather it all the time too. But it's really how it affects humans. Well, that was interesting. Hi, Ange. How it affects humans. that was interesting. Isn't that wild?
Angie, I'm sorry if I said anything bad to you.
I mean, you guys, that painting, I mean, here, let me do it this way. Here's the window. That painting's like this. It had to do that. I mean,
That was creepy.
it was awesome though. You know what? Normally I would be like, oh, but I really felt like she was saying hi right in that moment. It felt good. It felt playful. And I will tell you that her brother, I hope he wouldn't mind me saying this, but he had the same thing happen to him that same week. He was, I think, just sitting on the couch and a picture just off the wall. So I kind of feel like she was just going around and saying hi to everybody. So it was actually a really great experience, but a little trippy.
Wow. That's so cool. That is so cool.
I just want to say thank you for doing that, because Angie was such a good friend of mine. I mean, and a mentor. She taught me a lot about this field, and to be able to see that and just get that, I'm kind of getting teary-eyed a little bit, so I apologize. But when you lose a friend like that, and it was just too early in her life to pass away. I mean, she had so much, and there's just not enough I could say about her. And folks, let me tell you something. If you didn't know Angie, you missed one hell of a gal. She was the best.
Yeah,
she sure was.
So true. She sure was. Speaking of, I know. With Angelia, our guest this week, Teri Lynge-Kehl, was good friends with Angelia. So now would be a good time to bring our guest on, because I also want to share the experience, my Angelia story, once I have Teri in. So Teri Lynge is a leader in all things strange and paranormal. There isn't much Teri hasn't studied when it comes to matters of the unknown. She approaches her studies with an open mind, and no subject is too controversial for her. Her paranormal personal encounters started as a young child and have been consistent with this writing. Her desire to know the truth led her on a personal quest that has guided her to this day, 45 years later. She experienced a very powerful spiritual event in 1973 that changed her life. Teri found peace and happiness through her studies and still wanted to know more. Her personal extraterrestrial experience in 1979 changed everything she knew to be true and began a deeper study of what life was really about beyond the veil of biblical doctrine. She is a radio host and TV personality with Enigmatic Anomalies, presenting EA news updates as well as EA TV with her gifts of discernment through demonology. Teri is an avid Bigfoot skunk ape investigator, speaking of the pops, and joins Enigmatic Anomalies in the search at every opportunity. Teri has spoken in many symposiums and conferences throughout the United States. Please welcome Teri Lynge. Hi, Teri. So great to have you on the show.
Hi, Teri.
Thank you. So nice to be here with you all.
Yes. I just kind of want to start off with our little, at the symposium, we had this profound experience. The night before, I had the pleasure of meeting Angelia at a symposium the year before, and that was the first time I was honored and blessed to meet her. And I was so looking forward to it because she had just written her book and I had just written my book. So we would talk on the telephone, and we had plans to get our vendor tables right next to each other and to hang out and have drinks and get to know each other more and really blossom our friendship. So I was really missing that opportunity. I felt kind of gypped. So I was talking to her in my room, in my hotel room, and saying, man, I really miss you. I was looking forward to hanging out with you. And I kept hearing her in my head say, "That's okay, Katie. I'm on the other side. I'm your warrior. I'm your warrior. I'm there. I'm behind Katie Cook and you." And so I ran into Teri, you, right outside the elevator the next morning. And I shared this story. And right, Teri, the energy between us, you could literally feel her standing between us. Teri took my hand and we just stood there and we know you're here. And you had shared with me that that's how you referred to her, as your warrior at her service. And I did not know that. I've never used that word before in my life, warrior. And that came through. And so, that was a really intense, profound experience. And I know she was right there with us. So anyway. Yeah, that was really cool.
She has come to me a couple of times right after she passed, the night that she passed. I kept seeing I saw a light standing there, but then I was seeing these roses, pink roses falling. And I thought, that is so bizarre. And it was the next day that Dale had said that night while he was there with her, they were alone and he woke up and she had passed.
Wow.
And I couldn't even hardly stand it. I was like, oh, Ange, she was very special. And I think it was really awesome what she did for Katie there while Katie was sharing about her, that picture just flew. You can bet that was her. And they do those kinds of things. That picture right there, while I was at the funeral, they put that picture up, and twice I just felt like she was literally standing there. And it was so very real. I said to Kevin, I can just feel her right here, right now. It's just amazing how she is with us. And of course, that's the night that I met, or the day, I should say, that I met Wendy and the Paranormal Pops, and all that came to fruition. So that was fun. But yeah, I miss her a lot. She was very special, had a wonderful, wonderful anointing on her for what she was doing. She was an excellent field investigator and took everything so very seriously. And, I enjoyed every minute with her. I'm grateful to have known her.
Yeah, she was so great. I love that she's come to you as well. She pops up in my meditations, and it's funny. You guys will all appreciate this. She's always so busy. She comes in like a tornado and has that just, her energy. She would just walk in a room and everybody, it's like Dolly Parton had walked in the room. She just had this bubbly energy and just like, y'all, let's talk. She was just, she put everything into every day, so much energy. And when she comes through in the meditations, it's like that. She's always in a hurry. She's always like, all right, I got to tell you this because I got to go. It's like her agenda is more full on the other side, unless it's all in my head. But it feels so real when I see her in these dreams and meditations. But the fact that she's so busy just makes me laugh so hard, because that's how she was in life. And I really do think we maintain so much of who we are when we pass over. That's just my personal belief. I think we really take that personality with us. And Chris, you were talking earlier, getting a bit emotional. I just have to say, she loved you so much. I loved her. I don't think I ever went a week where she didn't say, well, I was just on the phone to Chris, and and Chris said this, and Chris gave me the update on this, and it was just Chris. So
the only thing that she wanted to do, she said, when you come down to Tennessee, I'm putting you on a horse, because I'm a city boy. I've never been on a horse. And I said, like hell, you're not putting me on any horse. First of all, I haven't seen a cow. I didn't see a cow until I was 16 years old. So I had no idea what a cow and a horse and all this other animal farm stuff was. I could tell you everything about the block, but I can't tell you a damn thing about a farm. And she says, you're coming down and we're going to put you on a horse. I go, good luck with that. Maybe the horse doesn't like me on his back.
She did have a very gentle horse. You could have ridden Jafar. He was very, very gentle.
Yeah. I sure miss all her. She would post those live videos. I miss seeing her. And you're right. She was always so bubbly and just behind everybody and cheered everybody on. So yeah, what a special person. And I just feel like but it makes me feel so good because the message is clear. She is there. She is there behind all of us as our warrior. She's fighting this good battle. So something in that comforts me. We have a good one on the other side being our warrior. So I love that. I love that message.
Oh yeah, I just got the chills.
Yeah, I've been getting them too. This whole time. So she's watching now.
Well, listen, before break, I want to delve into Teri's abduction experience.
Yes.
So can I start with the first question here?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Teri, you and I have had some great talks, and I got to tell you something. I truly believe you're a chosen person in this realm. But I want to start out with your abduction experience, especially with the reptilians. let's get into that, and we can take it over on, if we go over, we'll take it over on the other side of the break.
Okay. Well, I have had 2 different experiences, and the one that I had submitted to talk about later is the alien healing, which was so surreal for me, because being a very strong, believer, I found it hard to believe that anything could heal us other than God. And I just felt like the Holy Spirit was the one that healed. And to find out that that wasn't the only way that we can become healed was hard for me to swallow. And, and we can talk about that a little bit later, but, I know beyond any doubt that extraterrestrials are other than we are, but they do have gifts and talents that we don't have. Some of us do have, actually, but we're not tapping into them. And some people are, and most of us are not. But yes, reptilians are very real. I've heard so many stories about them being, vicious and wicked and that kind of thing. But, I've never experienced that. Both of my experiences have been benevolent and not malevolent. And, so I don't know, we can talk about that too.
Well, yes. So we've only got, we got about 5 minutes to break. I guess we can talk more about the healing that happened on the other side of the break, because I know that might be a longer story, but why do you think the reptilians get such a bad rap?
I think they get a bad rap because some of the stories that people are saying about them and the way they look, I will say they're very frightening. Okay. My experience with not that particular one, this is the one that did the healing, but my experience with the first one that I saw, which was a huge, massive 9.5 to 10 foot extraterrestrial that I was in a catacomb with a man who took me there, like a handler of this particular being that we have here. And he was in a gated catacomb, and a very, very heavy gate. But he walked me down, and I was so afraid. I mean, I was having so much fear that I had to grit down my teeth because I was shaking so much that I was biting my tongue, and my hands were just like this. I mean, I literally was shaking, going towards it. And I think that's why people give it a bad rap, because there is a lot of fear. He is nothing like us. He is nothing like we see. He's massive. And I think extraterrestrials are going to treat you pretty much the way you're going to treat them, because just like, humans, if you come up to somebody and you're going to beat them up, we're going to defend ourselves. Well, they're pretty much like that. And they know that we cannot be trusted because, we all talk peace and love and joy and happiness and everything. And then we shoot each other, so they know the human realm is not to be trusted, so, we speak with the forked tongue. And so this is why I think people say that, because they're so overwhelmed and these things are so frightening and so different that they act in fear towards them. And this is my best guess. Okay. I mean, I'm not the be all and end all of knowledge of reptilians, for heaven's sakes, but this is my best guess. I didn't do that. I was very humble. I was so humble because I was so afraid. I thought I was going to be lunch. I really didn't know what to expect. So I was shaking like a leaf inside and out, and I was feeling like I was going to throw up with every other step because I was that afraid. I knew I had to go. I was told that I had to go in and have a conversation with this being. And once the handler got me there and opened the gate, he told me to go inside. And I'm telling you, I couldn't take my teeth out, I couldn't separate them because it was just doing that, and they were whacking. That's how how much fear was there. But the minute I got inside, this huge mass, I would not look at him. I would not look at him. I saw him out of my peripheral vision, and there was no way I was turning my head. No way. And he was, like I said, 9.5 feet tall and massive. I could feel from him the strength. And he spoke to me through a mental telepathy, because although I could see a portion of him, his mouth wasn't moving. And I just stood there scared out of my mind, but he calmed me. He knew how afraid I was. And somehow or other, he calmed me, you know. And I did get a data dump from him. And to sum it up, he said that he was giving me information that when the time was right and I needed it, I would have it. And
Interesting.
I just simply said, okay.
Right. Yeah. That's a message that I've heard often, that could be the case. And it makes sense. I mean, these reptilians, you know, I mean, first of all, he's super tall, but let's face it. I mean, reptiles here, snakes, lizards, they don't get a good rap either. So all of that makes such good sense to me. And we are coming up on our break, and I would like to pick this back up when we get back, because I would like to talk more about, you know, how do they communicate? Were they telepathic? But we'll talk about that after the break. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Welcome back with our guest, Teri Lynge. Katie and I just get down every time. Let's carry on with the communication of the reptilians.
Sure. Okay. Well, I have never seen them speak. It's always been through the eyes that they communicate. It's always telepathic. It's always a male voice. I have never heard anything that sounded female. And what?
I said that's interesting. You think? I mean, there must be female reptilians.
Well, you would think, I mean, and I'm not here to say that there aren't, but I haven't had any interactions with them, if there are. And usually they'll speak in a gruff voice. I'm actually in the process for one of the things that I'm doing with the healing is to recreate the voice. And so I've gotten a certain type of a microphone that changes vocal patterns. And I keep listening, I'm trying to find that voice so that I can kind of recreate that, and also having a like from a studio that is doing a sculpting of the actual reptilian that I saw, the hybrid. The one that I have there was just a real quick rendition to do for a couple of symposiums that I was doing in Florida. And my husband and I put that together literally in like 20 minutes. He just, okay, what did you see? And tried to tell me. And I kept telling him, how it was, but he wasn't able to create it quick enough, and we didn't have enough time. So this is kind of a bit of what it looked like, but not completely. So we did have a sculptor on the other day that we talked with about making it very realistic to what I actually saw. So I'm very interested in what that will, bring forth, because he was very powerful, but he was small.
The snout is interesting on that depiction. It almost looks bird-like to me, doesn't it? Like kind of a duckbill a little bit.
Yeah, this one isn't as he had very big jowls, and he had a longer snoot, but the back of the head is too round. And but like I said, I was going to UFO Con. I was speaking there, and I needed something to help me relate, and I felt bad that it wasn't exact, but I'm not a artist, and neither is my husband. We're not artists, and so we did the best we could. And I've always felt bad about that, but what can you do? So this was really wonderful that somebody actually came to me and said, we're that interested that we want to create this sculpting of it, and it'll go into this other museum. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Glad of that.
Oh, Chris, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, he's muted.
Let's see.
Still muted.
Let's see.
He's muted.
There it goes.
Are you back?
Back to the planet. Okay.
We were all rooting for you.
Oh, that's okay. Stewie was demanding a piece of apple, and if he didn't get his piece of apple, he said he was going to bark during the show. So, anyways. I want to take you back to the second reptilian. You had one encounter with reptilian at the catacombs, but you had another encounter with a reptilian. My first part of the question is, were they the same type of reptilian? Was it the same one, or was it a different species? And I agree with you that some of these reptilians are getting a bad press, but I think there's talk about something called a draconian. Mm-hmm. Is that the same type of thing that you encountered, or is it different?
No, mine were very different. Both of them were very different. The draconian would have been more like the one in the catacomb. He was huge, tall, and really powerful. I mean, everything about him just was overwhelming to me, so much so that I always felt like I was just going to throw up, because he was that frightening, and not like anything I'd ever seen, or I mean, you can't wrap your mind around some of what your eyes are seeing when you're in the moment with these beings that are other than us, completely 100%, and other than anything else you're going to see on this planet. You're not going to the zoo to see these things. So, when you have to deal with it, like with him, because it was so frightening, just his mere size, it would be very much like standing next to a grizzly bear or something. It intimidates the bejesus out of you. And the other one that came to the bedside, which was short in stature and very, very colorful, absolutely beautiful to look at, unlike the other one. The colors were just, they caught my eye, and I was just looking all over his body and staring at portions of it. And from what I could see from the light coming from the outside, and that's interesting to know, is that when he was in the room with me, he only appeared to be about 4 feet tall, but the light that we had that would shine on the truck that was right outside the window, because of the way that my husband would park his truck, he brought it right up to the house, and there was a huge spotlight on it. So that spotlight, along with the spotlight from the street, brought in enough light that even though it was early in the morning, like, 4-ish, something like that, I could see better than normal. And as I was looking at this and noticing these little hairs on the edges of his scales and all, I got caught up in it, actually. And then when I looked up at him, it was like, oh my God, he's looking at me, looking at him. And, I didn't move because, again, it's not that it was so horrific. It was just that it was so quick that he called my name. I was facing the other way. I rolled over, and then boom, it was like, whoa, and calling my name wasn't something that was so bizarre, because I've been called many times. I've had spiritual experiences where my name has been called, and I've had demonic experiences where my name has been called. Now extraterrestrial experiences where my name has been called. And so I never know what I'm going to see when I turn over. And I have to tell you, that's concerning. I don't know where God is leading me, or how this is going to all fit into my reality, and when I did see him and the colors and the fact that he really had a reptilian face, was shocking to a degree, but I knew not to move, and he told me to be still at one point. That's the only thing he said, but in his way, like a very strong, powerful voice, you don't disagree with these extraterrestrials when they talk.
No.
You don't disagree with them. You're not in a conversation. You're being manipulated or controlled to a degree. I probably could have moved. I chose not to. I probably could have asked questions. I chose not to. I chose just to be, like I said, really, that would be submissive almost. So I've never done anything to threaten them. I've had conversations with a couple people, including Travis Walton, who said, he picked up things and threw them at them. Well, of course, they're going to react with him differently than they are with me. I'm not throwing anything. I didn't pick up the lamp or try to heave the lamp at him, So it's always very interesting being in the presence of these beings,
Teri, I want to ask, first of all, when this particular event that you're describing, when did this happen?
This was 2012.
Okay. Is this the same incident where you feel like you got healed?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Do you mind telling that story?
No, I'm not at all. I had, in 2000, I had gone to Tampa General. I had a surgery. I was told by the doctors that I had Crohn's colitis, which is so rare. You either get one or the other. I was the lucky guy who had two, and they told me it would kill me. I had been bleeding rectally, believe it or not, for 2 years, on and off, sometimes severely and sometimes hardly at all. But it had started becoming every single day, all day long, and it was really debilitating. It was depleting me to the point where I would get up and go to work, because I am really a workaholic. And I would drag myself to work and take iron pills, vitamins, you name it. popping everything I could like that, natural, and get through my day and get home and basically pass out. Literally, like at 5:30, 6 o'clock, I was in bed. And then I got up the next day to do the same thing. I did this for 2 years. And I hate doctors. I hate going to doctors. I'm just not, I don't know. I'm just one of those people that takes vitamins and minerals, tons of them. And so when it was evident, I had to go because I was shaking. I was hurting. I was in so much pain. I had to go. And they told me, if you don't have this surgery right now, you're going to die. It will turn into cancer. Your whole large intestine is so full of Crohn's and colitis. You got to do this now. So I did it. And I went in and I had the large intestine removed. And it was right after that, that 6 weeks after the first surgery, that something was wrong. They didn't do something properly in the 8.5 hours I was on that table, and they had to open me back up. Ugh, I hate talking about it. Right through that very delicate area that was healing and redo the surgery 6 weeks later. And the pain was off the charts, but they did catch whatever it was. I had a light bleed and they repaired that. But when I finally did get out of the hospital, I was in so much pain, that I called them probably every day for 3 months. And finally they stopped taking my calls and said, there's nothing else we can do. And this was like my new normal. And they did offer me a third surgery. And I said, oh no, that's not happening. And so, I'm not doing that again. So I learned to live with it. And so, make a long story short, 12 years later, I had asked the Lord to heal me and I didn't get healed. I didn't get better. I couldn't wear jeans. I couldn't wear belts. I couldn't wear anything tight. And so, I just accepted it. And 12 years later, I'm sound asleep in my bed and I hear a voice, Teri, not in my voice, but, in a gruff voice. And I knew I was facing this way and I knew I had to roll over to see who was talking to me. And like I said earlier, I never know what I'm going to see. And this kind of thing had happened before. But what I saw, I had never seen before. And that was this shorter reptilian who was about 4 to 4.5 feet. And I'm estimating, I didn't, I didn't measure him or anything. I'm just estimating because the side of my bed is so many feet. And then, he was just right up here to where my bed was. And when I looked at him, I pretty much just froze. I became very submissive and stayed very still. And I didn't know why he was there. I had no clue, and I stared at him for quite some time. I don't know how long I stared at him, just looking at him more and more intently. And then, like I said earlier, when I looked up, I saw that he was looking at me. And that was quite frightening, that he was studying me as much as I was studying him. And yet, he hadn't said anything. I hadn't said anything. And then all of a sudden, I see this thing in he had a clawed hand. And I saw 3 different areas there that had claws that looked like maybe from what you would see on a really big dog, a hard clawed, dark, like claw, like a dog claw. And he was holding this instrument. Now, earlier in my life, I was in the medical field, and I knew that what he had was similar to something that could be a instrument of some sort, but just the main piece of it was very similar. The Y piece, the other pieces on that, because it was kind of like this long thing with this Y on it. It had this thing that was very, very tightly woven, tight. And all of a sudden, I started seeing it move. And I'm like, oh my God, that was shocking. And the other piece was moving a little bit back and forth. And I thought, oh my God, that thing is moving. So now I'm focused on that and trying to make a mental note of what I was looking at. So the one thing was almost like a biological fern that you see in nature, but it was very tightly coiled, and now it was coming undone very, very slowly. And they were very thin. This depiction here is something that I tried to do. It reminded you, because it was grayish in nature, it reminded you of a tentacle on an octopus. It kind of reminded you of that, but it was much, much thinner. You know, an octopus has a pretty thick tentacle and that gets thin, but this thing was just thin, and it was attached to that rod. And he looked right at me as I'm staring into his eyes, and no mouth. I never saw a mouth on him. And he simply said, "Be still." And I thought, yeah. And, you know, this thing, he literally put it right between my legs, and it entered vaginally, and it started wrapping itself real quickly. I could literally feel it getting tighter. And this is interesting, getting tighter and warmer and tighter and warmer and tighter and warmer, to the point where I was like, oh my God. And it was right at that area that hurt from my surgery in 2000. And the outside attached to the upper part of me to like steady itself. It seemed, I don't know if it steadied itself or what it was doing, but now I'm feeling a vibration, this like vibration that I'm actually feeling. And then it's getting tighter. And at one point, even though he was right there, I closed my eyes and just sat there like, oh my God, this thing is going to pop. And I had in my mind, I was thinking, there's going to be blood everywhere. This thing's going to pop. I'm going to start bleeding. I'm going to hemorrhage. I'm going to probably die. I don't know. I mean, I just laid there with my eyes closed and thought, oh dear God, you've got to be kidding me. You know, and I know that might sound crazy that I would call out to God, but no, I mean, I was not sure if this is how I was going to go. You know, I don't know. And so then with my eyes closed, I was like, well, I don't feel it getting any tighter, but it was still hot. And I opened my eyes and he was gone. And I'm laying there with this hot, tight vibration thing going on. I laid there for 3 hours. I didn't move. I just laid there like, I don't feel blood. Nothing feels wet. I'm breathing. I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm not hurt. I'm okay. And my husband was sleeping on, you know, in bed with me. And he got up and got his shower and went to work. I still was laying there. This affected me mentally. It affected me emotionally. I was still feeling this vibration, and I thought, oh my God, dare I get up and move? Well, I did get up, and I didn't know what to do. And it was early in the morning. It was like maybe now 7:30, 8-ish. And I thought, take a shower. And then I thought, no, don't take a shower. Wait, you know what? I need to talk to somebody. But I didn't know who. And I just thought, well, I'm going to call Denise Stoner with MUFON, because, you know, she was in Florida with me. I was the assistant state director. And I just thought, or maybe I was a state section director, I'm sorry, at the time. So I called her and I started telling her what was going on. And she said, have you gotten a swab yet? And I said, no. You know, it's like everything I knew to do as a certified field investigator, I wasn't doing, because I was out of sorts with myself. I was freaked out. And so I said, no, I will do that. And she said, well, are you still feeling the tingling? I said, yes. And I said, I'm getting concerned about it. And I said, I don't know what to do. When will it stop? And she said, well, I don't know. And so I went and I did get the swabs. I took the swabs. I put one swab. I put it in the Ziploc bag. And and she said, like, throw it in the freezer till we can find a lab or something. And she thought she knew a lab in Pennsylvania, but that didn't go through. So I just left it there. And now to go, further in the future, 7 years later, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, I'm talking to her, and she said, do you still have that swab that you had talked about one time? And I said, yeah, I've got it. It's in the freezer. And she said, okay. She goes, I have a lab that's interested in looking at that swab. And I said, okay, fine. Anything I can do to help humanity out. If there's something on it, let's get to it. And so she sent a DNA kit. The lab, the gal from the lab sent a DNA kit with all the things. I had to wear a mask and put on gloves and not touch it and just ease it out of the plastic bag into the vial, seal the vial, put it in a special container, put it in a special box to ship it and all that, so I did everything according to the sterilization protocols. And then I had to take another vial and do a saliva test and be really careful about that. I had to do a mouthwash rinse and all this stuff, and then do that. And I sent everything off. And about 2 weeks later, she called me and said, "Oh my God, Teri," she said, this swab that you've sent into the lab has an unbelievable amount of proteins. And she said, it's not normal. And I said, oh, okay. She said, did you ever open it? I said, no, no, it's just been laying in my freezer. I hope it's still good. And she goes, it's definitely good. And she said, I'm surprised. And so as I talked with her, she asked me about what had happened. And like I shared with you, I told her exactly what happened. And she said, well, it's interesting that you had this heat. She goes, heat is conducive with healing and the pressure that you were feeling. She said, this is very interesting because it all adds up. And I'm like, adds up to what? I didn't understand. And she said, well, I believe what you're telling me. And from what I'm seeing on this, I'd like to ask if I can cut this into 3 pieces and continue my study with some of my other fellows. And I said, yes, absolutely. If you think we can get something from it. Yeah, absolutely. And so she said, okay. So then about 2 or 3 more weeks went by and I got another call from her. And she was absolutely shocked and amazed and said, Teri, this is unbelievable. We have another DNA. Your DNA is clearly on here. And I have another DNA on this. So I'm asking you if I can send this out now and see if I can't find what DNA this, is connected to.
Right.
And she said, but just know this, once I do this, we won't have anything left of the sample except just a very, very little piece of it. And I said, okay. So she went ahead and did that and got back with me about a week and a half later and said, we have found an actual match to what is on your swab. And I said, oh my God. And I said, what is it? And she said, you won't believe this, but it is a lizard that is called the tegu lizard, which is in South America. And I'm like, what? I mean, I had never even heard of a tegu lizard. And I said, are you sure? And she goes, yeah. And she said, well, you don't have lizards at your house. And I said, no. No, I'm not a lizard person. I would run screaming from a lizard, if it came up to me, not the teeny ones, but anything, a lizard I would. And she was like, okay. She says, well, we're going to start looking at this. And so she did. And then she sent me all the paperwork and I signed a bunch of different papers to, for the lab. And The rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm glad she took you seriously.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. What about the tool? Like what
The
happened?
tool. Well, it was gone. It was gone with him. When he was gone, it was gone. And I'm not sure why he used that tool, but he did. So something in that tool, okay, is what actually did the healing. Not the alien himself, but the alien knew to use that. And why they did it, I don't know. I will say that, and I mean, this is a stretch, but it's what I've come up with in thinking that my life was so strangely paranormal, so strangely weird. And that incident in 1979 was so difficult for me. I didn't talk about it for 29 years. I mean, it was that difficult for me to wrap my head around. I was a Christian. I was singing in the worship team. I was teaching the children. I wasn't looking for extraterrestrials. I didn't want to know a thing about extraterrestrials. And there they were. And I'm wondering if they actually felt that my Crohn's and colitis, which was something that is brought on the human condition by stress and just a lot of stress and not being able to deal with things and having problems. Maybe they thought they caused that in me when I had to have that surgery. That's a guess. I don't know that to be true. But maybe they felt that was part of the reason I was so sick and needed that surgery. My whole large intestine was removed. And because that's where they said they felt it was going to be cancerous. And maybe that's why they came 12 years later when I had so much pain from that surgery to heal me. And that's a guess on my part.
Right. I know Travis Walton kind of talks about that. He felt, he kind of later on thought maybe when they hit him with that blue beam of light, they might have injured him and actually took him to heal him as well. And I guess, I hear two sides. I hear some people who claim ET alien being healings and some that are actually do get sick and have medical problems from ET encounters. So that's a little confusing. Do you think, Teri, that whether it's the reptilians or other beings, like you had mentioned, they downloaded you with something, and when you're ready to receive it, something is going to happen, or you'll be used in some, not used, but you know what I mean, in some sort of way to either bring a message about. Do you think possibly they healed you to carry on with whatever that plan is? And if so, do you think there's other people that are kind of like pawns in a chess game that could be happening that we're unaware of?
Absolutely. And I had thought of that. And, I thought, well, did they heal me for their reasonings that I don't even know about, I'm not aware of? I will say that I know that my entire family has had interactions with extraterrestrials, which I never knew of until 1979 in my first experience when I told my mom what had happened to me. And that was such a powerful happening. And when I brought it to my mom's attention, she said to me, "It's okay, honey. I've had that happen too. She's seen them too." Wow. And I thought, what the heck? And you never told me about that. I mean, I really got upset with her. Instead of being, oh, I'm so grateful, I was like, why didn't you tell me about, why didn't you prepare me for this? But of course she didn't. And she had seen a USO, one that shot right up out of the water in the Gulf of Mexico, down near the area where the Peace River is, in the state. It was out in kind of in that area. And her husband also saw it. And she told me about the different times that they had seen it when they were out there. And then my oldest brother from my mother's first marriage, when he was 9 years old, had been told, go to a certain place and you'll see a UFO. And he did. And he did. And I didn't know about that until years later when I was in Melbourne, Florida, holding a MUFON meeting, and my brother lived in Melbourne, Florida, and he came to my MUFON meeting and told me about his experience. Talk about being shocked, and then my son and I were having a date night, my son Joshua and I, one time. Every now and then, when the boys were, younger, I would, call them up and say, I'm taking you to dinner. Let's go have a movie, spend some time with your mom. And sure enough, on the way home, we had an experience with a unbelievable UFO that was 3 lights that morphed into a triangle that then went out of sight. And in St. Petersburg, it's another long story, but my son then for the first time saw what, he now was an instant believer. And so there's the 4 of us in the family. And I don't know about great grandparents or anything else like that. We just didn't have any knowledge about anything. So I do think that they wanted me to be here. I do think I was chosen for something. I mean, why would I get a data dump? I didn't want it. God, like I said, I thought I was going to be lunch that day. I was so scared. And going through that whole thing, why? Right, the big why. So obviously in the future here, because I haven't needed it so far, but he did very clearly say, when you need this information, you will have it. Okay. So I have it.
Teri, I think you're incredibly brave for 2 reasons. One, to bring out this story, it's just an amazing story. I got to tell you, if I was in the same position where I saw a massive reptilian, 9 foot tall, massive like that, I tell him, okay, pal, let the probing begin. Tell me when to bend over. I just think that you're remarkable to be able to deal with all that, because I'd be coming home and say, honey, guess what happened this afternoon? It just wouldn't work. But anyways, I want to bring you back to 1979. You saw a craft then, and you had an encounter with a tall white. Can you explain to the listeners about that?
Sure. Yeah, I was coming home from work one night, late at night. I was working a night shift. My husband was working a day shift because we had 2 small boys, and we didn't want to leave them with anyone else. So I'm coming home very late. I left the job at 2 in the morning. And as I was coming down 28th Street North in St. Petersburg, which was just a little bit of ways from my house, I figured it was about a 15-minute drive, right? And I kept seeing something in front of me, and I kept looking at it. There was a railroad track up ahead of me on 28th Street North in St. Pete, and there was something on it, but I kept looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God, that is not a train. I could see clearly under it, clearly over it, and around both sides, but it was taking up the entire portion of the street. So that's about 42 feet. I know that because I went back later and measured it. And I'm staring at this thing. My car shuts off. Now, my car had never shut off. There was nothing wrong with my little Honda Civic. It just shut off. And it was rolling right up close to this craft. And I'm looking at it, and I'm backing up in the seat thinking, oh my God, I got my hands on the steering wheel. I am freaking out, going, oh, whatever you do, don't get out of the car. Don't get out of the car. My hand reaches down, opens the door, and I'm out of the car. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And I'm having this conversation with myself. I didn't know then that I was being controlled, that I was actually somehow enveloped by this experience. I did not know that they could do this. Of course, I didn't even believe in them. And the first words out of my mouth were to the Lord. Of course, I'm talking to the Lord as I'm looking at this. Nothing can happen to me that you don't allow. So obviously you're allowing this, but this is comic book entertainment. What is this? I can't possibly believe this. And, I kept saying, Lord, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm like standing outside of my car and holding on to the door jamb with white knuckling going, oh my God. And I have to tell you, this craft was so beautiful that I was mesmerized. I was like, wow, look at that. Not a rivet, nothing, not a door, not a window, but there was a blue light right in the center of it going along. And it just was this and this is 1979. And we didn't have beautiful lights like that. Okay. And this thing was just, oh, it was so beautiful. The blue was beautiful and it wasn't making any noise. And the next thing I know, I'm not holding on to my door jamb. I'm standing in front of the car. And I thought to myself, what? Wait. How did I get here? Not understanding, because I didn't believe in UFOs. So I didn't understand anything about that. And so, I had to wrap my mind around what I was seeing and try to drink it all in. And it was, really scaring me to a little bit there. And as I was looking at it, I felt like it was communicating with me. And I'm like, how is that possible? I'm feeling like I'm not afraid. All of a sudden, I'm feeling like I'm okay. And I thought, well, that's bizarre, and I didn't hear dogs. I didn't hear cats. I didn't hear birds. I didn't hear anything going on, street noises, nothing. And yet I could see the red and yellow and green on the light that was at 38th and 30th Avenue and 28th Street North. But I couldn't hear anything. And there were no cars. And I kept looking around like, where is everybody, And I was all by myself. And all of a sudden I looked down and I wasn't standing on the street. And I thought to myself, you got to flip and be kidding me. I am not on the street. I am not on the street. And I could see the street, but my feet weren't on it. And it was at that point, this blue flash from my right side came right at me. And I looked over at it and, oh my goodness, in that blue light was standing a tall white. And I'd never seen a tall white, didn't believe in him at the time, just shocking, ugly. And that's all I could, between my right and left ear, all I kept saying was, oh my God, that's so ugly. Oh my God, that's so ugly. And I'm not looking at it. I'm not going to look at it. And I was looking down, and yet I'm like, oh my God, I'm not on the street. I'm like, what is happening? And I thought to myself, did I die? Am I dead? Did I have a car accident? And I slapped myself and I was like, am I alive? And I thought, oh, that hurt. Yeah, I'm alive. And so I'm standing there thinking, what the heck? And all of a sudden I'm being moved towards that tall white. And now he's not on my right, he's on my left. And I'm like, no, I'm not looking at you. I'm not looking at you. And so the next thing I remembered was being inside a second craft. The one in front of me was hovered over the railroad tracks. But I never even saw the one to the right. There were two crafts there. And now I'm inside that thing, but no clue how I got in there. And I'm laying down, and I still had my uniform on from work, and I'm looking at myself going, well, good, I got my uniform on, but where am I? What is this? And then I look straight down, I raise my head, and I can see I got my uniform on, and I see my sandals on, my little brown sandals. And I'm like, I got my shoes on, and I'm like, oh God. And then here's these two short gray, well, I know now, extraterrestrials. I didn't even know what they were then. I couldn't have told you. I was just like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I said that probably 100 times that night, because I'm like, could it get any weirder? And then I'm like, oh, where is that white thing? And all of a sudden there he was right there coming into my view as I'm laying down. And I looked up at him and he looked directly at me, and he said with his eyes through mental telepathy, we are not going to take you. We are not going to harm you. And I'm like, take me? Take me where? I'm like, what is going on here? And let me just describe the room. The room was pure white, and it was like it was a molded It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I was on a table, but the light was coming out of the walls, out of the floor, and out of the ceiling. It was the most soft white light. Didn't hurt your eyes, but it was perfectly well lit. And you could see what was, in there. And there was something like a chair, but it wasn't a chair. It was way too small. And I thought, what is that? It just came right out of the wall, and it went like that, just right out of the wall. And I thought, well, what is that? I didn't know. And the next thing I knew, I was out and I was standing back by my car. And I thought to myself, how did I get here? How did I get here? I'm outside again. And I'm looking at myself and I'm like, oh my God, I'm okay. I'm okay. Got two legs.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. But I was taking an assessment of, am I here? Am I okay? And I was okay. Good. And I was looking now at the craft in front of me again. I wasn't looking over here at all. Why? I don't know, but I wasn't. And now I am not the same person who went into that other craft. I actually did this. I said, please take me, don't leave me here.
Wow.
And then I said, what? What are you saying? What are you, some kind of an idiot? You don't say that. And I was having this my insides were screaming, literally begging them to take me. But my reason was saying, shut up. And I literally said that, shut up. What are you, crazy? And then as I was standing there, and I don't know how long I was standing there again, I did it again, but now I'm crying. I'm physical tears. Don't leave me here. I don't want to be here. I mean, I'm the mother of two amazing, beautiful children, and I'm begging to leave. And I'm like, what are you saying, you idiot? I was really having this inner struggle.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very real. And I couldn't understand why I was saying these things. And then it flipped and went vertical on me. And I'm like, oh my God, it can't get crazier than this. I mean, this is crazy. And then I was almost at a scream, don't leave me, don't leave me. And I said this out loud, which shocked me. Aren't I good enough? Why are you leaving me? Aren't I good enough? And I thought, why would you say something like that, you idiot? And I'm having this inner struggle, but it was what happened. And all of a sudden this thing shot up way up in the sky, and then it stopped. And I thought, oh, maybe they're going to come back. Maybe they're going to take me, and maybe they're considering it or something, I didn't know. And so as I was watching it, the most bizarre thing happened. Here's the craft. This huge fireball came out of the bottom of that craft and was just going, and you could hear the fire. It was like, I think I might have said, holy SHIT or something, but I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And so they were all up there, and just, I stared at it for I don't know how long. And then all of a sudden, they were gone. They headed towards the Gulf of Mexico, which was west. And that was that experience that day. Well, I stood in the street after they left, holding my head in my hands going, oh my God, what just happened to me? Oh my God, I got to talk to somebody. I got to talk to somebody. Well, who do you talk to at 2:00 at night? 2:15. And I thought I need to go see my mother. And that's the night I drove to my mother's house, which was literally 2 minutes from my house. And I told her what had happened. When I got to my mother's house, her husband said to me, do you know what time it is? And I'm like, yeah, like 2:30, It was 4:00 in the morning. He told me it was 4:00 in the morning. And I went, it is not. And I thought, oh, that guy, he's so tired. He doesn't even know what time it is. I thought he was nuts. Mm-hmm. It was 4:00 in the morning. And I went in and said to my mom, put the coffee on. I got to talk to you. And I told her everything about it. And that's when I found out she had seen them too, as well as her husband while they were out on their boat. And so the rest is history.
Well, Teri, it immediately makes me want to ask, are they where you are really from? Do you feel like you had some kind of recognition, like these are actually my people?
No, I feel like they have been possibly a part of my family and me and have been overseers of us. I believe that they were created beings. I don't see extraterrestrials like a lot of people say, are demonic or demons. And demons are demons, and they don't need crafts. Okay, a spirit doesn't need a craft to travel. It's just here and then gone. An extraterrestrial isn't going anywhere without a craft. So they have to have a vehicle, like you and I need a vehicle to travel. For me to go to Nashville, I need a car. For me to go to Florida, I need a plane. They need a craft. So there's your basic difference from demons and extraterrestrials. And I do think that the extraterrestrials are created beings who have the ability to oversee many of us. I do believe that, disclosure has already happened one-on-one. We've had millions of people have experiences that they cannot explain, and has changed their life, like mine. I mean, I was very narrow-minded. I did not believe in this. I thought this was comic book entertainment, like Superman and every other thing out there that's crazy and wild. But, it's real. And I've seen them, and now I do have a relationship. I have seen them again. I have had other experiences. I've had CE5 experiences where they have showed up. And it's very impressive. It's mind-boggling. But they do come. And I don't think I'm from there. I do think that I am a spiritual being on a human journey, and I think they may know me. And I've had a couple experiences where I felt like where I was, they actually knew me.
Right.
And I won't go into all that, but did I answer your question?
Yeah,
you did. So we only have, this hour flew by. We don't have that much time left, but I wanted to kind of jump over to Skunk Ape. And my question to Skunk Ape, and I know you have an interest in that in research, are they ET connected?
I believe they are. Yes, I definitely believe they are. And I have seen something that I couldn't have ever, and it was in Lakeland. We had a home near the Green Swamp, and we did have an experience there. I won't go into that. But they are very real. They are very big. They are definitely ape-ish, but they're also very extraterrestrial-ish as well. They don't move or act like a regular gorilla or an ape would, that we see in the zoos, and very powerful, but they're intelligent.
Yeah. Have they been seen with craft then? I guess so. Like balls of light.
They've been seen after people have seen lights in the forest and things like that. They have been seen. And that's why I think they're either a dimensional being or an extraterrestrial being. They could be a hybrid of some form of an ape. I do think that the extraterrestrials are very good at hybridization, and that's something they've been doing for forever. When you consider that they've been here since before the hieroglyphs, in Egypt and all over, everywhere on the planet. Everywhere. The Mayans have seen them. The Chinese have seen them. Everybody in every eon ago has seen them and drawn something about them. You have to say to yourself, why are they still here? What are they looking for?
Right.
Why are they so interested in this human race? What do we have that they so desperately need?
Yeah, all good questions. So where can somebody go if they want to learn more about Teri Lynge-Kehl? Where do you have a website or anything like that they could go to?
I do. Well, TeriLynge.com, I started for my grandkids and my great grandkids so that they could kind of get to know their grandma, and my life and how I lived and what happened to me, so that if things happen to them, they're not taken by shock like I was. So TeriLynge.com, that was before I got married to Kevin. So, and also, being with MUFON and on the board, I do have DOM for Director of Memberships. And so it would be DOM@MUFON.com if you have questions and you want to ask me something about a story that I've lived through, that I've shared. I'd be happy to, talk to anybody. So.
Oh, that's awesome. You're the cool grandma. That's awesome.
The strange grandma. Yeah.
Hey, that's okay. I think
it's okay
really
with
great.
me. It is what it is. I can't change any of it,
Yeah. And I want to put another plug out there for this year's symposium. Will you be out there, Teri, for the symposium?
Yes. So looking forward to this one.
So make sure you go to that registration page, sign up for that. If you guys see anything you can't explain in the skies, you're looking up, make sure you go to MUFON.com and report your sightings. Teri, you're another guest we're going to need to get back on here. We didn't even touch on half of the questions we wanted to get to. So I hope you'll join us later.
Well, and can I say, if you get that data coming back to you, whatever that data dump was, please call us immediately and say, I've got to come on the show, because I think I know it's coming back.
I think everyone will know when I know. Yeah.
If they give you the lotto numbers, will you call me right away?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
Come on. Yeah. Why don't they do that?
The Mega Million.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Teri. Thank you to all our listeners. Next week, we are going to Tuesdays, so don't forget about that. Tuesdays from 8 to 10 Eastern time, our new time and our new day.
We made it into prime time.
And our guest that week will be Maddie Tobias. So we are looking forward to that. You all have a great weekend, and we will see you next Tuesday. Good night, everybody.